Hey everybody, it's Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and Scooter West here in San Diego, California. For all things Vespa, check out our web store, scooterwest.com. Here I got a Vespa GTS 300 Note, and down below I have the complete series of original Vespa / Rizoma accessories. These are original Vespa parts sold through Piaggio USA and throughout the world. And they're made by the company Rizoma. Super high quality items. They make them for all the major manufacturers of motorcycles, and now they have a series of parts that fit the Vespa. So Rizoma, they make very high quality parts. They're all machined aluminum parts, and that's across the board. They mostly specialize in mirrors and levers for sport bikes, some of the classic style cruisers, and now with the Vespa line, you can see the very high quality parts that they make. All aluminum, it's laser engraved with the word Vespa in there, and you can see all the second op machining. Looks very nice and high end. All the parts they make for the Vespa are silver with the exception of the belt cover, center cover. It's got a black inset of 300. And I'll go over each one of these parts and what they fit and quickly on how to install them. I'll start with the accessory mounts on the front. This is the front fly screen that's all aluminum, part number 1B004736, the original Piaggio accessory part number. All the Rizoma items come in the nice display boxes. And we got the fly screen. Includes mounts much like any of the standard windscreens. As you can see, it's made in Italy. And all the included hardware to mount it to the Vespa 300 scooter. This will also fit any of the 300, 250, and 200 models as well. Won't fit the GTV because that has the handlebar arrangement. Here's my favorite, the horn cover. Again, it fits the GT 250, 200, and the 300, part number 1B004737. Also will fit the GTV because that part is shared across that frame. As you can see, it's got the mesh inlay, the machined aluminum inset, the brush stamped aluminum front shield, and a laser engraved Piaggio badge on it. I'll flip it over and show how it mounts. It hooks in the standard arrangement. It's got this hidden bracket that you mount to the scooter, and you remove the two screws that remove this front cover. Includes all the hardware needed to install and an instruction sheet in many different languages. The aluminum Fender Crest, 1B004745. Again, in the very nice display case. Mounts just like the original, except for there's two included nylock nuts and nylon washers that prevent damage to the fender when you tighten it down. It's too bad this isn't shown, but you can see the really nice sheen work inside the Fender Crest here. Looks pretty cool. The complete mirror kit, you can see it's 3 different part numbers. We sell it as a complete kit with all 3 items with an additional discount. Part number 606724M-kit is the part number for the complete kit of all 3 components. Of course, you can order these parts individually. For instance, you damage one of the mirrors, or for some reason you just want the hardware kit, you could just order that as well. So you can see it's got a polished stainless steel stem. It's got the blue reflective mirror surface. And on the back side, you can see all the machine work that goes into this part, along with the Vespa stamp. This is fully homologated, which is important in some countries, maybe even some states here in the United States, since it's an original Vespa accessory, unlike many other aftermarket mirrors. You see it's got a very high quality ball and socket design. It's a very nice feel to it when you move it. It's stiff and positive, but you can make a lot of adjustability to it, which is sometimes a problem on aftermarket mirrors. So both are they stylish, they're also very functional. So these mirrors will fit the complete GT range all the way from the old GT 125, the 200, the modern 300, the GTV. Nice and easy to install, installs just like your stock mirrors. So here I have a part that's very difficult to install. No, just joking, pretty simple. It's the replacement dipstick in all aluminum. Part number 1B004752. Let's check this out. Works just like the original dipstick. It's got the gradation just like the original dipstick, so it's very accurate, unlike some of the aftermarket ones. So here's my second favorite part for the Vespa GTS 300 from Rizoma. It's the belt center cover. Looks very cool. It's got the 300 insignia laser engraved in there along with the word Vespa, both silver and black. Part number is 1B004743. You see it's got 3 rubber well plugs that hold in very securely versus the standard one that's just plastic little tabs that break. A lot of people order the plastic replacements. This thing's a very high quality part. You don't want to lose it. Again, made in Italy. All machined aluminum. Looks very cool. Fits the full range of the GTS 200, 300, 250. Will also fit the LX and ET4 if you really want to buy it. Show that you got 300, 150cc scooters there, I guess. So at the rear of the rail on most Vespas that have a grab handle, they have a little plastic cover. It's either chrome or on this Note it's black. Rizoma has got you covered here. Part number 1B004746 is a machined aluminum replacement cover. Again, it replaces the standard plastic part, bolts right in just like the original. Very high quality. They thought about everything. There's hardware. There's 2 rubber plugs to keep it from scratching on the frame. And you can see all the beautiful machine work on the back side of the part as well as the front with the laser engraved Vespa insignia. So anybody can install any of the Rizoma accessories. Very simple. You need a T25 Torx screwdriver to remove some of the existing covers on the Vespa. I would recommend a full set of Allen keys. And this has got a ball end on the long side and a standard hex on the short side. To remove the mirrors, you'll need a 17mm wrench, open end wrench that is. And I think to assemble the windscreen, you'll also need a 10mm wrench. So with the windshield kit, you got a right bar and a left bar. They are unique that they got a little tip in. So when they're mounted in there, they actually tip in, along with the hardware kit and the shield itself. So start by taking the hardware kit, get all the bits. Pretty much builds identical to any of the factory windshields for a Vespa. It looks like the exact same hardware, as a matter of fact. Start by threading this large lock nut into place. You take the large cone, drop that down, drop the plastic piece, and then you take one of these smaller cones and bolt that in place with the included 6mm screw and washer. Pretty simple. Take your 10mm wrench, and then just go ahead and tighten that until it just touches the plastic. See, it's holding the plastic in place, and repeat with your left side. So take your 3mm Allen key and go ahead and loosen all of these fittings here. Don't want to remove them. Just go ahead and loosen them a couple turns. So with the fittings loose, go ahead and install the correct bars on each side. And you could repeat with the other side. And now that you have it pretty close, you can tighten these screws just enough where it just kind of holds it in place. You still want to be able to move the bars around. So go ahead and pop the 2 fittings into place, using your hands to keep the shield from rubbing on the plastic. And they kind of snap into place, and you can carefully let that drop down. And once you have it centered and all the way in, you can lift it and get it to where you have a pretty even gap on both the left and right side of the headlight. A lot of adjustment with these style windshields. And I'm just snugging these at first. I haven't tightened them all the way down. Take your 17mm wrench and go ahead and get in here and give these a couple tightens. You know, again, it doesn't, small windshield, they don't need to be really tight, but enough where they're gonna hold in place. So for the horn cover, you wanna start by removing the badge. And from your left side, you carefully pry the badge off. Take your T25 screwdriver, remove the single screw that holds the horn cover to the body of the scooter, and just shift up on the horn cover. So with the Rizoma part, go ahead and disassemble it. You got the two Allen fasteners, 3mm Allen to remove. Keep in mind there's going to be both a metal and a nylon washer. Nylon washer goes up against the metal, and this reveals the bracketry to be installed onto the scooter. Another pair of fasteners need the 3mm Allen. Go ahead and dismantle these two parts. So take the two brackets that are removed from the Rizoma cover. This is definitely a two-handed, if not a three-handed operation to install. Take the rear bracket and go ahead and drop that down. On the earlier models, you may need to drill the holes. All the later models for the last several years, they've had these extra holes for the front rack. And then you take the front bracket with the screw in one of the, just ready to go. I had one of the screws already threaded into the hole, kind of holding the wrench and my pinky finger there. Kind of wish I was an octopus and had like 8 hands to do this. And take your last screw, and while you're holding the rear bracket in place, go ahead and get that screw started. So it's important to leave this loose at first just to kind of test fit everything. So I just pretty much just barely snugged it. You can see it moves around. I want it a little bit tighter, and there's still some give, so I can move this around. Now we'll take the horn cover, and much like the original horn cover, it hooks into these lower two latches here, and we'll go ahead and engage it into those lower latches and judge where the screws go. One trick to doing that is you can look down the holes and use an Allen key to kind of steer the bracket where you want it. So I'm pretty close right here. Make sure the cover's all centered. Going to remove the cover and carefully tighten the two screws. So I'm going to hold the bracket so nothing's moving around. Have it exactly where I want it. If you're putting this on a GTV model, you're going to need to remove the front rack, because this uses the same screws that would mount the front rack. Let's drop this back down. And take your screws with the metal and nylon washer, and you'll need to engage them into these well nuts. The nice thing about the well nuts is they have a lot of give when they thread in, so not too likely to cross thread them. I didn't tighten that all the way. Find the next one. And go ahead and tighten the screws down. And with well nuts, you don't want to crank them down too much because they are rubber. You know, you just want it enough where it holds the part in place. So they kind of spin a lot with some resistance. The well nut, pretty much, it's a brass insert inside a rubber, like grommet, essentially. They're very common on windshields on motorcycles, so that part's all installed. So for the aluminum Rizoma fender crest, you're going to need some unique tools. A #1 very short screwdriver, unless you want to remove the front wheel, just there's not much clearance. And then you'll need a small ratchet with an 8mm socket, or a little 8mm wrench will do the trick as well. Start by removing the front fender crest. There's going to be 2 screws underneath here. You can feel your way around. I don't know if the camera's going to get it. And you're going to have a little plastic cup that drops out as well. And I'll show you this part. So that's what gets removed. It's a screw with a little plastic cup. And then there's one towards the rear of the fender guard, or excuse me, fender crest. And as you're removing the screw, you'll be able to lift the fender crest away. On the Rizoma part, go ahead and remove the 2 locking nuts along with the nylon washers. And this just drops right in place. One thing you may want to clean the fender, or if you have a gloss finish bike, you can polish the paint finish if there's any marks from the old fender crest. So go ahead and hold both the washer and the nut with your fingers, then you can feel your way around and get it started onto each one of those threaded studs under there. And I'm holding the top of the fender crest as well. Got those both started. You can see there's some play, so you can get this perfectly centered if you like. You use the old one for reference, the marks, if there's any marking on the fender from the old one. Or you can start with a brand new fender if you want. And go ahead and with your ratchet, just give it a couple turns is all it takes to tighten these down. Doesn't take much to tighten it down, and there you go. So mirrors are pretty simple. I'm going to take your hardware kit. Includes 2 new rubber boots. It's also optional to use the boots that are included with the mirrors on your scooter. And for instance, if you're installing this on the GTV, don't really use the boots at all, and you just have the chrome spacers. Inside the rubber boots, they are marked right and left. So you have your right mirror and your left mirror. So there's your right mirror. Go ahead and slide the boot up onto the shaft of the mirror. These spacers are both the same. Thread the spacer on there. Alternatively, if you ride your scooter into weather, you may want to put a small amount of anti-seize on the threads of the mirror. Or even just standard grease would help prevent any type of galvanic corrosion. And then the mirrors are pretty simple to install. Remove your old mirrors. If you have an older model GTS, you're going to need to remove the reservoir covers. Usually you need a 2.5mm screw or a Phillips screw to remove the little cover. On any of these newer models, not necessary, as there's no reservoir covers, all integral into the bodywork. Go ahead and spin the mirror on. You can see I don't have a windshield on the bike. Can't really install the mirrors when there's a windshield in the way. And I went all the way past where it stopped and then rotated right where the mirror head is perfectly in line with your grip. It tends to be the best spot. Of course, it's all personal preference where you want the mirrors, but that's for functionality, usually that works best. Go ahead and tighten the mirror. Take care not to slip with the wrench and scratch your bodywork. And go ahead and slide the rubber boot right over. Again, if you have an older model GTS, you may want to use the rubber boot that's included with your existing mirrors. And back and right over the grip. Drop the rubbers down. The mirrors are fully adjustable. Kind of get them where they work the best. Looks good. Glass looks awesome on there with the blue glass. Not only are they stylish, they're quite functional. So to install the grab rail cover, go ahead and remove the existing grab rail, usually held in place with a single Phillips screw. It's kind of an odd angle. Maybe better off with a little shorty or one of those right angle screws, but it's not all that tight and it's not all that long, and you could just use a standard screwdriver. Single screw that holds that in place. Go ahead and remove that. Remove the 2 T30 Torx screws that hold the rack to the body of the scooter. And don't slip. Scratch your paint job. Be bad news. The Rizoma cover includes new hardware along with a bracket, 2 spacers, 2 washers. Go ahead and take the stainless steel screws, drop the washer onto the screws. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this with in my hands here. So the 2 screws have been prepared. Go ahead and take the bracket and drop the screws into the bracket, and the 2 spacers drop onto the screws. So I can hold this whole assembly, get it centered. You can see the spacers, or the bracket points kind of down, the little tongue on it. You can get those pretty far by hand. You're going to take a 5mm Allen and go ahead and tighten those 2 screws using the ball end on the Allen just to get them snug down, and then we could do the final torquing with the short end of the Allen key. 5mm Allen, that is. Go between the 2. You want to make sure it's tight. Don't want it vibrating on the body. So on the cover, there's going to be a screw installed with a pair of washers. Take your 3mm Allen, go ahead and remove that. You can just remove it by hand. Take this little cover, and it slides right onto that stainless steel tongue. And go ahead and you'll need to line up the screw. This is where it's important to have the ball end because you don't have much clearance. Go ahead and get that tightened. And then you could do a couple more with the short end of the Allen key. So the center belt cover, pretty simple to install. There's going to be 3 little pry spots. You carefully just get a flat blade screwdriver or a plastic spudger tool and go ahead and pull this off. You can almost do it by hand. You can see there's going to be 3 rubber grommets that are left behind. I'll just clean this shit off to you. Go ahead and pull the 3 rubber grommets out. Pretty simple to remove. And go ahead and take the cover and go ahead and set it in place. And take your 3mm Allen. Just go between all the screws where it tightens it up. And of course, this looks awesome when it's installed on one of our custom powder-coated black covers. The scooter should have came with the black cover, but still looks equally as nice on a silver bike. But the contrast of the silver band against the black looks really awesome. So with the dipstick, you're going to need to have an 8mm Allen wrench. I'd also recommend keeping this with the scooter. So if you need to check the oil on the road, you'll have means to do so. Remove the old plastic dipstick. And once you have the dipstick off, you're going to need to transfer the O-ring from your existing dipstick to the new dipstick. So do so with either a pick or a small flat blade screwdriver. You can carefully pry this O-ring off. Another option is you just buy a new O-ring. Anytime I see oil weepage around that on an older O-ring that's no longer around, I just recommend replacing it. So go ahead and slide the O-ring onto the new aluminum dipstick, get it threaded by hand, and then carefully go ahead and just snug it. You know, the original dipstick isn't tightened all that tight, it's just tightened enough to seat the O-ring and pretty much just get it right to that point. Of course, the benefit, no one's going to mess with your oil with having a special tool to remove that. So here's the full set of Rizoma Piaggio accessories installed on this Note here. You got the pair of mirrors, the fly screen, all aluminum, the aluminum horn cover, the Fender Crest. We have the aluminum machined grab rail cover, and on down to the motor, we got the super awesome looking 300 cover, center cover for your belt cover, and the dipstick. So I hope everybody liked all these pretty cool aluminum accessories for your GTS 300. You could check them out on our website, scooterwest.com. Just punch in any of the part numbers or just punch in the word Rizoma, and you'll find links to all the different parts we have on scooterwest.com. Follow us on YouTube if you don't already do. We have well over 400 videos, mostly related to the modern Vespas and many relating to vintage Vespas I've liked for years and years. You can hit the bell to get notification of any new videos we come out. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Vespa Motorsport. Follow me on Instagram, Robot Vespa. Until next time, Robot here, signing out.